Welcome to Talking About Watches with MrWatchMaster. I'm Andrew Cantor, co-founder and editor-in-chief of MrWatchMaster.com. In these podcasts, we're going to talk to amazing people in the watch world and discover some fascinating facts about them, their collections, and what they love about watches. In this episode, I speak with Rebecca Struthers, an award-winning designer, watchmaker, and historian. Rebecca is half of the founding husband and wife team behind Struthers Watchmakers. Born and raised in Birmingham, Rebecca was just 17 when she set out on her path to becoming one of Britain's leading watchmakers. Initially training as a jeweller and a silversmith, with a passion for creating complex pieces of articulated jewellery, she soon found a way to combine her passion for craft with her love of science in the pursuit of horology. We hear her views on business, her favourite watches, a new book about time, and what her plans are for the future. So if you can just tell us about yourself, what you do, and then tell us something we don't know about you.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Rebecca Struthers and I'm a watchmaker, historian, and writer. And how did I get into watchmaking? I suppose it's a bit of a obscure journey in that I hadn't even considered watchmaking as a career until I found it by accident at uni, where I'd actually gone to learn jewelry and silversmithing. So I was studying, training to be a goldsmith, and it just happened that the school I was at also taught watchmaking, and I was introduced to the subject by some of the students at the time. And I've always had this mutual love of science and art, and watchmaking was the moment I realized that you could do both of those in a career. You don't have to choose. That was kind of my epiphany moment when I was 19, and that was it. Never looked back. Been a watchmaker ever since, and that's where I met Craig, my now husband, and we worked together in our own workshop that we founded. That we initially started off doing restoration of vintage and antique pieces. Then we started doing some, we call it tailor-made work, where we're making watches using heritage calibers that we'd rebuild and make them new cases, dials, and so on. And then that got us into making our own watches from scratch. So now we make completely in-house calibers. And if that doesn't keep me busy enough around that, I write. I've written an adult book about the history of time, told through the objects we've invented to measure it, and also just written a kids' book too. That's out soon.
Which we'll talk about a bit later.
Yeah, that'd be great. And as for what people don't know about me, I suppose if people don't know me, then they probably don't know any of that about me. If they do know me, I feel like they're cheating because I write about my life in my book. So there's not an awful lot left that people don't know now, really. I don't know. Hobbies? I don't really have time for many hobbies. I like gardening. Don't have many people like that. And I love animals. I rescue a lot of animals. So that's kind of my passion in the little time I have outside watchmaking and writing.
Okay. Well, that sounds lovely. So let's talk about a typical day. What does that working day involve with you?
Well, this is part of what I love about what I do is that there isn't really a typical day. It's so varied. It varies really from, so with making in-house watches, we do everything from case making, dial making, through to making the various components of the movement. So that keeps it really varied. There's a big difference between that, the goldsmithing work on the case and the precision work that goes into the mechanism itself. So you get like the variation between the aesthetic and the technical. But our business is also just me and Craig. So we do everything that goes around it. Like we've been doing some photographs for Instagram this morning, doing our own press and networking and stuff like that. I've been doing our own accounts this morning too. So it's everything that goes with running a small business. But it's typically pretty varied, which I love.
Keeps it interesting, I guess, in that respect, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So when you talk about the sort of the other trades, do you work with a lot of other trades, artisan crafts people as well, isn't it? You tend to sort of, if you can't make it, then you work with people that can. Tell me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. That's a really important network to us and one that just keeps growing. As when we first started out with the tailor-made builds, we had this vision that we just have a network of people to collaborate with. So we wouldn't have to do our own case making, someone else make the dials. And we quickly realized that despite Britain being the home of watch and clock making for much of the 17th and 18th centuries, that we have very little of that network left. So early on, we decided to start trying to rebuild some of these craft networks and introduce new people to horological crafts who might have linking disciplines but have never worked for the watch sector before. Perfect example being engravers. So you get some incredible engravers in gun making, but less so in specialist watchmaking. So been poaching gun engravers over to work with enamelers as well. When we first started out, there weren't commercial watch style enameling in the UK was pretty much extinct. And in that time, we had Anne Ordain appear, who I don't know if you've had on the show. If not, you should do. They're amazing.
Definitely.
Glasgow-based firm who've pretty much revived traditional watch style enameling in the UK. We've collaborated with them on our first in-house watches. And now with the next generation of we call it our Project 248. The initial inspiration was it was two watchmakers, our forehands, and a traditional 8mm watchmaker's lathe. But we're looking to kind of collaborate with more people now. We're extending our network further, and we love sharing who we work with too. So as if we ever want to stand a chance at really bringing back British watchmaking, we need that creative network around us. And to support that, we need to share them, because we need other brands to be using them too, and to make this economically viable for them to shift their business model. So as that project comes along, we'll be sharing even more of the people that we work with.
Oh, that's great news. I mean, I met up with the Anne Ordain guys at the recent Hands-on Horology show, and they were saying that, they're busy and they've got like a 4-year waiting list now. So, I mean, I know that's a quality problem, but I think, in that respect, we need more people to come in and take up these crafts as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. The demand is there. It's just, it's fulfilling the demand. As it takes so long to train as well from the crafts perspective, that even if we inspire the next generation of enamelers, it's going to take them a few years to get up to speed, and we'll catch up with ourselves slowly.
I think so. It's a good place to be. Okay, so I think you mentioned the 248. Is that something you're currently working on? What's keeping you most busy in terms of work?
In the workshop, the development of our next 248, which we're well on the way with now, which we're switching around our production. So we've actually stopped doing restoration now and stopped doing the tailor-made builds. And we're finishing the last of those over the course of 2025. And then we're just making 248. So we're hoping to up our production to around 5 pieces a year, which is more than enough to keep us incredibly busy. But as part of that, that kind of network expansion, we'd like to work with someone else on our case making too, because the way we make cases takes us so long that we want to streamline. Basically, there's a lot of streamlining going on, but a lot of research and development. So I'm more on the research and development technical side of things, and Craig's more creative. So he does beautiful hand renders and stuff that we send out to people to work with, and the fiddly technical stuff he's better with, and the R&D and anything maths related is my domain. We work well together.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear. So you say you're busy in that respect. So 5 pieces a year. Do you want to sort of increase that? I mean, how can you increase that? Does it mean taking on more people? I mean, what are your thoughts there?
I mean, we like being small. When we first started out, we went through the whole, and I think every business gets this, whatever sector you're in, that you're taught that success is growing. So you want a big company, you want to hire staff. And we started off thinking that this was the way we had to go. But then quickly realized that we actually quite like each other's company and keeping things small. And of course, as soon as you start growing as a business, it changes the dynamic of what you do as the head watchmaker, because you go from spending all your time at the bench, which is what we love. We love getting our hands dirty. We love being really hands-on with what we do. But you go from that to becoming a manager and managing staff. And then you've got to sell a lot more watches to pay those staff. So then you've got to do a lot more promotion, a lot more traveling. You end up spending more time at events than you do in your workshop. And kind of we quickly saw that that was, if we wanted to grow, that was going to be what we'd have to do, and we like being at the bench.
Yeah.
So we've decided to stay small, but kind of find our own way of doing our bit for the industry and giving back, which
Mm,
is part of like the networks and sharing our
right.
networks,
Mm,
but also trying to share our processes online. Working on our new website at the moment, and supporting people through writing and education in other ways to kind of share the knowledge, because we do need more people. We need to pass on the skills, but we also want to do that in a way that we can take a lot of pleasure out of and
sure.
continue enjoying what we do.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting. So let's talk about design. What do you think makes a watch stand out from a design perspective?
I mean, we always say we look back to look forwards, and the most beautiful watches have already been made. So for me, I love classic designs and heritage designs, the sort of things that are so timeless that a watch could be 100 years old or 1 year old and still look like it could have been there
Hmm.
forever. Like
Mm,
that's kind of, we love everything from like the early Cartier, like your 1920s, 30s, 40s, made some incredibly beautiful watches. Same for sort of Patek and if Omega 1930s, 40s pieces. That era of watch design, I think, is just a minefield for
mm,
inspiration. You can really take a lot from that.
yeah.
And yeah, from contemporary watchmakers, you see those details like Kari's work, Kari Voutilainen,
Yeah.
and you see that kind of 1930s, 40s inspiration, which I love his work and the artistry that goes into that and his collaborative approach to yeah, so that kind of thing for
Mm,
me.
mm. I mean, that's sort of, I mean, when you look at Carrie's work, it's very intricate, isn't it? He loves his sort of
Mm,
rose cutting, the guillocheing, and there's such a lot of work that goes into that. And I think, and obviously you were
yeah.
talking about engraving as well. So, to me, I think that is really interesting that when you start doing the sort of the hand engraving work, that means every piece is unique, which I think is really something that I think collectors do love.
Yeah, and I think that artisanal approach to watchmaking as well, from certainly the collectors we've spoken to, they love the idea that they are investing in this craft network,
Mm,
and that they're not just buying a watch, they're keeping these skills going with that investment.
yeah.
So it must be, sadly I'm not in the position to make those sort of purchases myself, but if I was, I
Not yet.
think fingers crossed, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Um, but if I was, I mean, I would really value that side of it too, that you get to
Mm,
support these skills and the continuation of these skills and celebrate them. And at the end of it, you get a really beautiful work of art to wear. I mean, it's a
yeah,
win-win.
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
look, we mentioned other watchmakers. I mean, and there's a lot of collaboration that goes on, but do you see a time when you guys would be collaborating with someone like Carrie or someone else that you admire? I don't know. Could be quite
Um,
fascinating.
I mean, we collaborated with Anne Ordain, and for us,
Mm,
like we're open to collaboration. We
yeah.
consider a lot of the craftspeople that we work with as more collaborative than just us paying them to do something. So we seek people out because we want their skills, and that for us is the key part of any collaboration is what is each of you bringing to the table.
Mm,
And we never just collaborate for the sake of collaborating with a big name. It would have to be they are bringing something that
hmm.
we can't do, and we are bringing something they can't do, and together we're going to create something that wouldn't be possible without this.
Sure.
That's our mindset on it. So
Mm,
yeah, definitely something we're open to, but it would have to be for the right reason.
sure. Okay, look, before we get on and talk about the new book, which is amazing, let's just tell me a little bit about, what do you enjoy most about watchmaking? I mean, I can see you love it, but what's the one thing that really stands out?
Um, I love the way that you never see everything and you will never stop working.
Mhm.
Sorry. I love the way that you you will never stop working. That was a Freudian statement.
But
You'll
wasn't it?
never stop learning. You'll
Learning.
never stop
Same
working.
thing. Same thing.
Yeah. So you never stop learning because you never see everything. And it's
Mm,
just every day is a new challenge. And I love that. I'm the sort of person who's I need to be doing quite a few different things at once to keep kind of my
yeah.
mind focused.
Mm,
Like I
mm.
love
You like being
challenge.
busy. You like being
I
busy.
do like being busy. I just can't stop myself. Ever since I was a kid, I was always the one at school who would have finished whatever job we were given or task we were
Mm,
given to do
mm.
before anyone else and be like, Miss, done it,
Yeah.
bored, what now? Like next, next.
Yeah.
And watchmaking is the first time I've had a subject that is just constantly throwing new challenges at me. And I'm having to think in multiple different places at the same time. And I love that.
That's
I
a
love
great
the
trait, isn't it? They always say if you want
mm.
something done, give it to a busy person. So that might be the way forward. Okay, so your new book, It's About Time. Well, that's what it's called. So tell us a little bit about that, a little bit of the background, what you're hoping for, and what's it all about.
Yeah, so this is a children's book for 7 to 9 year olds, and the inspiration for it came out of a conversation with my co-author, Alam Shahar, who's a brilliant physics teacher, experienced kids book writer. And for a while, we were both trustees of the Museum of Timekeeping in Newark. And Alam and I were wandering around the museum, looking at the displays when he had this epiphany moment that you could teach much of the school physics syllabus using horology as your guide. Because it just covers so much, everything from like gearing, friction, electronics, quartz crystals, oscillators. It's all there. And obviously, the wonderful thing about physics, and I mean, this is one of the reasons I always preferred physics at school to mathematics, was because you can see it working. And to have that visual reference when you're trying to figure out the kind of science behind something is so valuable, I think, to a lot of people. And horology is a brilliantly visual way to demonstrate a lot of these kind of physical phenomena in the real world. And so we got thinking, we're like, well, has anyone done this before? No, not really. So we thought, okay, let's do this as a book. Let's see how much we can cover of curriculum science using horology. And that was the seedling for what became About Time, which has been published with Dorling Kindersley now in August, which is also mind-blowing because I grew up with Dorling Kindersley books.
Yeah,
So to be working with them now and
yeah,
see my name on the cover with that logo
yeah.
is super cool. But yeah, so we go through and together we've cherry picked the bits of watchmaking that we can use, and everything from kind of the sides of curriculum, things like Big Bang Theory and geological time, and through to the real detail of watchmaking. There's a central section of it that takes kids through how a mechanical watch or clock works step by step, from the power source, mainspring or weight driven, through to gear trains, escapements, motion work, like how the hands move around and stuff, which I know I'd have found that fascinating when I was younger.
Mm,
But I also really wanted to make it accessible and feel like even something that might seem mind-blowingly complicated, which for most people, mechanical watches do seem like, how does this work as something
mhm,
so small?
yeah.
That if you break it down step by step, it's actually quite easy to follow.
Mm,
And if you follow the physics, it makes even more
yeah.
sense.
It's quite logical
Um,
in a way, isn't it?
yeah, very logical approach to it.
Mm,
So I wanted to make that feel accessible. So every kid coming away from it will hopefully, touch wood, understand how a mechanical watch works. But I've also covered things like profiles of contemporary artisans and historic, to just make this feel like a really current and accessible career. And they're all over the world as well, and trained everything from going from top watchmaking schools to being completely self-taught and learning things off YouTube.
mm,
So it just shows how many different ways you can enter the
mm,
craft. There's a section as well just about educational options, and also showcasing some of the artistic crafts that go into watch and clock making. So you don't just have to be a watch or clock maker to be in the industry. You can be an enameler, you can be a gemstone
mm,
cutter, a gilder, an engraver, and also mention things like journalism as well, and blogging, and just
yeah.
how huge this industry is. So, like worst case scenario, kids come away from it knowing that these crafts exist, and careers are there if
Yeah.
they're interested. And that for me is the hopefully the greatest success of
Hmm.
it.
But why
Touch wood.
why is it important? Why is it important?
Well, because I mean, we were just discussing how much demand there still is for these crafts.
Mm,
So there are jobs there. There are successful, interesting, varied careers that kids they don't have to feel in like they're destined to end up in boring jobs. It's so boring jobs. A lot of them are quite dull. And this is something
mm,
so
mm.
different.
Yeah.
And especially for kids who are more hands-on, and don't particularly want to pursue an academic route for their education in the future. They want to do something creative,
Mm,
that you can have a financially as well as kind of, I say spiritually rewarded, but
mm.
like entertaining job to
Yeah.
do. in the creative sector still. But also, and this is something else I think is really important, we talk a lot about inspiring the next generation of creatives, but we're not doing an awful lot to inspire the next generation of collectors.
Mm.
And from my experience of doing work with schools and outreach work, it's incredible how many youngsters now can't read analog time and don't even register watches as things that exist. You know, there's no point inspiring the next generation of craftspeople if we don't have the next generation of people to invest and support their work. Or the whole thing will collapse. And especially supporting museums even and research, the journalism community that goes on the back of this.
The whole ecosystem, isn't it?
The ecosystem revolves around people knowing that these things exist.
They've got to buy it. It's selling stuff, isn't it? You know, if you don't sell anything, you can't have an industry. So
selling it, writing about it, researching it, visiting it in museums. You know, museums collection, like the British Museum, phenomenal collection there. How long would the gallery exist if people just stopped visiting it because people weren't interested because they didn't know these objects were around?
And of course the Clockmakers Museum at the Science Museum. I'm
the
a little bit
Clockmakers
biased.
Company, full stop. Who would be joining the Clockmakers Company if people didn't know clockmakers existed? So
well, it's amazing, and I wish you every success with it. And you know, we're fully supportive of it. And it's a beautiful book, wonderfully illustrated as well.
Lucy Rose did an amazing job, our illustrator. I should name check her.
And it's telling that story, isn't it? It's just trying to bring it out to the wider community as well, the wider audience, in that respect. And well, good luck with everything you're doing there.
Thank you. It is. It's cool to think of it out there. I mean, one of the things I'm most proud about is out in the US, and it will be available in Target, which feels huge
brilliant.
in terms of getting a book out in the wide world.
Excellent. That's going to make a huge difference. Okay, so look, let's as we finish off, let's talk about what's next on the horizon for you.
Well, getting these next series of 248 watches finished and out there in the world, and that's my main focus at the moment. So that'll be really exciting to see and to share that journey in progress. And then I better write another book around that somewhere. So more research.
That's right. Great. Okay, look, that's been fascinating, and I've really enjoyed our conversation. And let's keep talking, because I think there's a huge amount of work to do in terms of, you know, getting as you say, the next generation interested around horology, watchmaking, clockmaking, whatever it is. But I think it's a very exciting time to be in the industry, in the business, and always good to talk about it.
Likewise, thank you so much for having me on and for your support again. And love to keep talking. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for listening to Talking About Watches with Mr. Watchmaster. I really hoped you enjoyed this episode. For more information and great stories about watches and the people behind them, please visit www.mrwatchmaster.com. I look forward to hearing from you soon.